Hello everyone, now if you click this video, you're probably wondering how to solve a two-step equation. And I'm actually going to be here to help you guys, and we're going to go through the steps and a few examples together. So let's get right into it. So first, we're going to want to know what a two-step equation is. A two-step equation is an equation we set up to isolate the variable to get our unknown number. Now you're most likely wondering, what is a variable? A variable is a symbol such as x, y, or z that represents an unknown value or number. So you're probably wondering the steps to solving a two-step equation. Now, it's very simple and it's actually easier than you think. It's just one more step than a one-step equation. And I have a video on that if you would like to check it out on how to solve a one-step equation. Now, going back to the steps, the very first step would be to look at the operation being done to the variable. So whether it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, just make sure you can identify that type of operation. Now the second step would be to do the opposite operation. So I know that the opposite of addition would be subtraction, the opposite of subtraction would be division. I also know that the opposite of multiplication would be division, and the opposite of division would be multiplication. So when we identify the first operation being done, you're going to do the opposite operation, Now for the third step, you're going to want to do it to both sides of the equation. The fourth step would be to isolate the variable, and the fifth step would be to divide by the value. And when we do a few examples, this will be simpler and easier than you think. So now we could put this into theory. So for my very first example, I have 4x minus 16 equals 14. Now, I already see that it's subtraction here, and I'm going to want to do the opposite of subtraction to do addition. So I would do plus 16 on both sides of the equation, like done in our steps. We identified the operation being done. We're going to do the opposite operation, and we're going to do it on both sides of the equation. Those are steps 1 through 3 that we've already done. So I have minus 16 at the top, plus 16 on the bottom. So I know that that's going to cancel out, and I could drop my 4x below the line. Now looking at my right side of the equation, I have 14 plus 16. And when I do that, I get 30. Now I'm going to want to isolate that variable by itself. So I do 4x divided by 4x and 30 divided by 4x, so we have that variable alone. And we're doing this to both sides of the equation. And when I do 30 divided by 4x, that's supposed to be 4x below that 30, I would get 7.5. And if I plug that in to the x, 4 times 7.5, I would get 30. Now moving on to our second example, I have 2x plus 30 equals 16. So I already see that I'm going to be doing addition, that's the operation that we currently have. Now I'm going to want to do the opposite operation, which would be subtraction, and I'm going to want to do that to both sides of the equation. So I would do minus 30 on both sides. I know on the left hand side that 30 cancels out, so I would drop my 2x to be negative 14, because 16 minus 30 equals negative 14. And make sure you drop that symbol below. So now that I have that, I'm going to want to isolate my variable x. So I would do 2x divided by 2x and negative 14 divided by 2x. So when I do that, I get x equals negative 7, because I know negative 14 divided by 2, negative 7. And if I want to double check, I could do 2 times negative 7. Now moving on to our third and final example, I have 5y plus 40 equals 20. So I know I can subtract on both sides because I currently have addition. So I'm going to want to subtract 40 on both sides of the equation. So it would be positive 40 minus 40 on the left hand side. I will do 20 minus 40. And I know when solving this, I could drop down my 5y. And 20 minus 40, that's actually negative 20. because negative 40 is bigger than 20, and solving that, you would get negative 20. Now I'm going to want to isolate my variable, and when I do that, I do 5y divided by 5y, and I also do negative 20 divided by 5y. Now when I do that, negative 20 divided by 5, I get 4. Y equals negative 4. And if I want to double check, I would do 5 times negative 4, and I would get negative 20. Now, some key ideas when solving for two-step equations like we've done in the last 3 examples is that you're going to want to identify the operation, which would be addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You're going to use the opposite operation to undo it. So you're basically undoing the equation to solve for that isolated variable. And I provided a chart of how it goes vice versa and how to do the opposite operation. And then once you do that, you're going to do the same to both sides of the equation. You're going to isolate the variable to solve, and you're going to divide both sides by that value, that isolated value. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys could take away some ideas here in how to solve two-step equations. That is it for now. See you guys in the next video. I, the Math Tutor, signing out. Bye!